If you like my video, please like, share and subscribe. It started small at first, the hallucinations. But I think I'm going insane. I think the first time I noticed them was in the shower. I was staring off into space when I saw a few little legs peeking out from the curtain rod holder. I'm not very afraid of bugs, so I thought nothing of it and continued showering. I felt like I was being watched at some point, so I looked around. A tiny black spider on the wall was staring at me. Its beady little eyes were unnerving, even if I wasn't afraid of spiders. I finished up my shower quickly, and I made sure to keep an eye on the little fellow, so I wouldn't lose him. It honestly weirded me out, the way he followed me with his eyes, and I contemplated just killing him. My inner morals against it made me think better of it, and I just picked him up and ushered him outside. That's around the time things started getting weird. The next morning, I was again gripped with the feeling that someone or something was watching me. I was starting to get a little bit unnerved at this point, so I tried to ignore the feeling. As I was washing my dishes, I saw it. A little spider, exactly like the one I had seen before. In my haste, I killed it. That might have been one of the worst mistakes of my life. Admittedly, I felt bad at first for its death at my hands, but soon it slipped my mind. When I showered that night, I saw the legs peeking from the curtain rod again. I didn't look away this time, and watched as the legs lengthened, stretching as if they had rested for a long time, drawing a large fuzzy body from the darkness. Each step was slow and deliberate, and I found myself staring as it crawled lazily over the wall, reaching the ceiling, but not stopping there. Its eyes seemed to suck the light out of the room as it inched closer to me. My heart skipped a beat as it stopped right before me on the ceiling, the body turning so deliberately towards me. I saw the water condensed on its fuzzy body, and I was strangely curious to find out what it was going to do. As if it was yawning, its needle-like maw stretched open, opening to what seemed to be impossibly wide. While I watched its jaws, the slow raising of its forelegs was unbeknownst to me, almost like a spring. It dropped from the ceiling onto my wet body, clinging with its hooked feet to my arm. I yelped in pain as I felt those large fangs sink into my arm, and I snapped my arm away, flinging the spider as far away from me as possible. It hit the curtain with a light splat sound, falling into the torrents of water at the bottom of the tub. It refused to relent, still, and leaped at me again. In my split second of panic, I flung a shampoo bottle at the offending anarchid. The mostly full bottle landed with a loud thud, and I was certain that the blow must have killed it, or at least disabled it from attacking me. I picked the bottle up, ready to slam it back down again if the spider had refused to die. Instead, I was greeted with the unsettling sight of nothing. With wary eyes, I scanned the shower, water hitting my face and running into my eyes. I paused to clear my eyes before glancing at the curtain holder, just in time to see a brown hairy leg disappear into the darkness. That was impossible. How could it have survived that? A twinge of pain reminded me of the now dark red bite on my forearm. Immediately I took myself to the closest ER. But once I got there, the red welt seemed to have vanished. Thoroughly shaken, now I was reluctant to return to my home, lest an 8-legged intruder ready to attack me again. It was hard for me to sleep that night, but once sleep did come, I almost hoped it hadn't. I woke up to a layer of webs over my face, and on almost everything in the room. This is insane, I told myself, closely studying the layers of silk coating my desk, my dresser, my mirror. How many spiders would it have taken to do this? In my awe and mortification, I allowed my guard to slip, and I swung my legs over the edge of the bed. The moment my feet touched the floor, hundreds of little legs ran over it, climbing my ankles, biting at my skin. I'm not proud of this, but I let out a shrill shriek, kicking and thrashing in a pitiful attempt to get them off of me. Once I looked at my floor, I screamed again, seeing waves of large and small bodies, moving almost as one across the floorboards. In that second, they all seemed to look at me, and the flight response took over. Being a 120-pound female, it must have been amusing to see me hop and run across the floor, but to me, it was terrifying. I called one of my closest friends for support, and she swore she would be there immediately. I had all but barricaded the door to my bedroom, stuffing towels under the crack to keep them from possibly escaping. As soon as she arrived, this brave woman, bless her soul, she swung open the door to the room of hell. The room was spotless. Not a single thread of spider silk in sight, not a single thing out of place. She turned to me with a rather odd look on her face, quizzical and curious. She asked me if I was messing with her. I swore up and down I had seen the spiders, and they had bit me. I yanked up the pant leg of my pajamas, as if to show her. Nothing but my own smooth complexion showed all the way up my leg. She asked again. I was at a loss of words, and she finally left, no doubt now questioning my sanity. I didn't blame her. I was starting to as well. I had begun to avoid showering, as that was the place where most of the incidents occurred, but it was becoming inevitable. I had to shower at some point. With a deep and shaky breath, I turned the nozzle to start the water. At first my eyes deceived me, and instead of water, I saw waves of tiny black bodies. I shook my head, breaking the image, only to see crystal clear water pouring from the faucet. I shuddered and stepped under the stream of warm water. Midway through my shower, I heard scraping, almost like something trying to escape. Against my better judgment, I looked around. A dark-haired leg, almost as thick as the whole spider before, was scratching at the wall, trying to gain purchase to drag its huge body through. Again, I screamed. Slowly, impossibly, improbably, it worked its massive furred body through that small opening, scraping its legs against the tile the whole way. The sheer size of this spider was mind-numbing. In my whole life, I had never seen anything like it. Its legs were roughly the thickness of my finger and twice as long. The head alone was maybe the width of my palm. I threw things, trying in any convincible way to keep it from coming through. Tiny scratching sound filled my ears, and tingling covered my scalp. I moaned in dread as I felt the spiders crawl through my hair, but they were untouchable as I slapped and clawed at them. I could almost feel my sanity slipping. They ran down my body like water, flowing and prickling. They were liquid, but solid. In my terror at the spiders on me, I had forgotten the behemoth heaving itself through a tiny crevice. By the time I had looked back at it, the last spider scrabbling down my body, it was through, to my sheer and utter terror. I could still feel the spiders on me as it latched onto my hand, fangs sliding through my skin like a hot knife through butter. The pain I had expected never came, though the side of the fang distorting the skin of my hand was enough. Then I looked into its eyes. I saw awful things in its eyes, hordes, mountains, oceans of bugs, moving like a tidal wave of living liquid, scrambling over each other in an effort to reach something. There were other things, unspeakable things, happening in its eyes, but I was ripped back to reality as its fangs inevitably met each other, and every muscle in that massive body heaved backwards. Excruciating pain flooded my arm, as a chunk of my hand went with it as it flung itself backwards. Blood splashed against me and the wall as the giant creature scrambled back to whatever hell it crawled out of. Warm torrents of red ran down my arm, and I was vaguely aware that this injury was in fact real. I don't know how, but I managed to call 911 in time before I bled out. But the wailing sound of sirens were completely welcome to me. I had the faintest notion that it was over, but I couldn't be sure.